What's up, y'all? And welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today we're back with more 20th Century Boys with Volume 7 and Volume 8. So, the roller coaster continues as we speed right past, a little bit past the halfway point of the series now. And just once again, the way this series continues to loop things back around, connect things, make you question, who is this person? Why is this relevant? Why are we here at this location? And I truly love now, some series, have done, jumping back and forth between time periods and stuff, and it doesn't make sense. But 20th Century Boys, I'll say eight volumes in, and they continue to knock it out of the park. Because one thing I love about with the passage of time in this series is that you might see a character and be like, who is this? Why do we care about this person? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're this kid from the class as a 40, 50-year-old adult. So, yeah. So, of course, as always, if this is your first time here, welcome. But if you're a returning listener or watcher, then welcome back. You already know what it is. We're freaking 7, 8 volumes into the 20th Century Boys series. But just in case if you're here for the first time, pretty much I will be doing full spoiler deep dives into both volumes. Now, I will apologize because I would like to try to keep them separate or whatever. But, with last video or last episode, me doing 5 and 6 together, it's kind of getting a little bit muddy because I'm like, just because I'm trying to get through the series, but not in a bad way where I'm rushing. But at the same time, it's sometimes hard to read one, then stop, and then record, and then go and do the other one. I'm like, you know what? Let's knock out a couple at a time. So I had to stop myself from going past 8, just because I was like, covering 3 and 1 would be a lot. Because doing 1 by itself is enough, and 2, oof. So just know that maybe read both of these before you listen to this, because I don't want you to think I'm just going to just start with 7 and only talk about 7. I might mix and match. Because like I said, stuff is starting to kind of blend together. But enough jabber jabber. Let's kind of dive into it. So pretty much volume 7 picked right back up where we pretty much get the reveal that and the confirmation that Fukabe, one of their old friends, was the friend. So we kind of see, that he was the one with them taking pictures, which is kind of creepy now. It's like, okay, the person y'all thought was, this or whatever is here. And yeah, it's crazy. That he was the one that took the picture of them on that day and stuff. But yeah, so we pretty much start off with just kind of like, everybody freaking out, from hearing the gunshots at the school and the science lab and all that stuff, and everybody making a run for it. And Aksho pretty much confirming, like, yeah, he is dead. I checked his pulse. He wasn't moving. He's done for. But as we would learn in volume 8, that is not the case. And speaking of volume 8 real quick, because this is something, it made me question. I was like, have I just not been paying attention to these covers? But so far, I think volume 8 is the only one that does this, because all the other covers, have the text 20th Century Boys presented by Naoki Urasawa. And that kind of like awesome, kind of like lettering, over the faces and stuff. But then volume 8 had something a little bit different. And it said, Yoo-hoo, yo-ho, Kenji. Yo-ho, Kenji-kun. Come on, let's play. And so when I read that, or when I glanced at it, I was like, wait. I was like, have all of them had different messages? But no, that's the only one, and it's very fitting that is the only one with that on there. But but anywho, but yeah, so we pretty much like to get confirmation that Fukabe was the friend, and then he got shot and he supposedly killed at the school, and so we kind of begin to get some flashbacks because between these volumes, we learn and we saw some moments where Manjon met Fukabe them when they were kids, because he was selling spoons and stuff, whatever, like supposedly like some space super alloy spoons, whatever. And when he met the friend then when they were kids and stuff, and so it's kind of interesting, like seeing their connection and how they all first met. But yeah, so of course, like widespread panic and stuff goes across the world because it's like, oh my God, the friend is dead, and we get shots of just like various countries across the world like reacting to his death, and then pretty much like I'll call them the friend council with Manjon, and all these other people that were kind of like the I'll call them kind of like the board members for the friends. And so of course with the friend being dead, it's like, okay, who's gonna kind of like step up and be the leader? Well, some of the people was kind of like, well, Manjom, you don't automatically get like, yeah, we know you've known him for a while, but that doesn't automatically make you the person in charge. And so over the course of Volume 7, we see several members of the council group die in mysterious ways. And so they're kind of, fighting for power and positions. And so, yeah, so temporarily for a bit, everybody kind of, or some people, I should say, some people think like, oh my God, it's over, yada, yada, yada. But people like Akcho is kind of like, yeah, just because he might be dead, the friend group is still out there. There's still work to be done. And so, and Connor's trying to go with him and stuff, and Akcho's like, no, you don't need to follow me with where I'm going. And so, Akcho kind of feels, kind of tells Connor like, hey, it's not your fault, like yes, your mom might have created the virus or been involved with the creation of the virus, and your dad is the friend, but this is not on you. And so we kind of jump back to get some more context for what shoot, I gotta remember her name. Like I deserve times like so many freaking characters. Kiriko, Kano's mom, Kiriko. So we kind of go back and we, see kind of how stuff with the virus came up to where for a while it's kind of like a game to where she would make a virus, what's his name? Dr. Yamain would make the virus, and then she would make a vaccine. And then he would make a stronger virus to come at her vaccine, and then she would make a stronger vaccine. And so they just kind of kept this back and forth going for a while until he made the version of the virus that is like been going on now. And so that's why, she's been kind of out doing research and trying to find another cure. And she pretty much tells him like, hey, like, we need to stop because like pretty much like, because basically he shows her his latest creation, and she's basically like, yo, are you trying to wipe out humanity? And so, he's just still thinking it's a game, but yeah, so kind of go through that. let me see. We get like a really cool flashback to Kenji when he was in his little band and stuff, and they were performing, and the one guy, the the singer idol guy that the Moreau works with, we learned that he was I think a drummer in the group. I think he was a drummer. Let me see. Yeah, he was the drummer in their group, and he ended up getting scouted out by a bigger group or whatever. And Kendra was like, "Hey, go ahead, man, go ahead. I'll find another drummer. It'll be okay." And so that's kind of why all these years later he's helping out, because he feels like he owes a debt to Kenji, for what happened back then. And I just found that's like super cool, you know, way to tie this guy in. Because, first it's like, okay, why is this random famous singer idol guy wanting to get involved, with what's going on? And then it's just stuff like this that I love of like, no, he knows Kenji from way back in the day. He was in his band and yada, yada, yada. And so here we are. And had like this like really dope moment where he just like shows off his awesome drumming skills, going off on the drum. But yeah, so that happened. Koizumi, she's back to school. Things are seemingly well, she's trying to get back to her normal life, but every time she sees the news, it's just she can't escape it now. She is too involved with the friend group, and so start getting reports that the some of the guys that Koizumi them met a while back, they're kind of like random group of young guys. They're like a little bit older. I think they're probably like early 20s or so. It's kind of like hitting on them and stuff, and they're becoming friends and stuff, and basically learning that some of them have been coming up missing. And then that's kind of where we start to see that the the friends are still doing work. They're back to starting to spread the virus again. And so Koizumi and her friend basically goes over to one of the guys' houses and basically finds him dead in his apartment. And so yeah, so pretty much, yeah, things are just, chaos is just spreading. Because currently there is no effective vaccine against this version of the virus. So so this is like one of the first times where things started like, once again, one of those moments where it was like, okay, what is going on? Why are we here? So we get to this like random village where we see this like Frog's Japanese soba truck driving through this like deserted area. As we also see they're in New Mexico, in America, New Mexico. As we see this little boy passed out on the ground with a shovel next to him. And so basically kind of find out that the guy in the food truck or whatever, he's with his son, but he is basically the little frog looking guy from back when they were kids. But I think his name was like Carrion, something, Frogman. I'll just call him that. But just his whole little arc with his son, them going through this village, them finding this little boy, and basically learning that there was an outbreak of the virus, and this poor, unfortunate boy has spent who knows how long, how many days, burying everybody in town, because it seems like pretty much he's the only survivor in this whole town. And basically we learn that Kiriko had passed through at some point, and she was trying to get them to test out the vaccine, but of course, which is kind of weird in a way, like some of the stuff going on in this volume with what's going on currently in the world, as far as like with COVID and viruses and vaccines and all this stuff, whatever. and just kind of seeing some parallel stuff in this volume to where there was even a part to where like a character was wearing a mask and he asked his dad or somebody of like, does me wearing this mask help or whatever. And so yeah, so like I said, it was just kind of just interesting, like I said, just reading this in today's age, now maybe if I were to read this like a few years ago before COVID and stuff, then, probably would have paid no mind to it, but it's like being in the world we are now, it just kind of seemingly fourth wall breaking, but this was like 90s, early 2000s this series was written. So, but anyway, so yeah, so yeah, learning that Kiriko had passed through at some point, and she was trying to help people out and get the vaccine to people, and basically when Frogman learned this and stuff, and learning who she was, and that she that was, that's Kenji's sister, he realizes like, oh, okay, I got some work to do. I need to help. And so yeah, so I just really liked that little piece of that arc to where, it's like this, Kiriko basically offering money, like, hey, I'll pay for somebody to test this out or whatever, and the boy going to test it to get money for his dad, and then, everybody else around him starts dying. And so yeah, so then where did we go to? Let me see. Okay, then so we have, where this old couple found Kiriko passed out in the woods. They kind of helped nurse her back to health, and she gave them one vial of the vaccine. And she's like, hey, this is, I don't have much. This is all I have to spare. And she leaves it with them as thanks. And the old couple, they're starting to get sick, and then they basically decide to give the vaccine to the little boy in town. They're like, hey, you know what? Instead of us taking it, let's give it to the little boy. So yeah, so then all hell continues to break loose because, it gets to chapter 11 of volume 7 called Creeping Fear, to where they're starting to set up these like quarantine zones, which it kind of made me think about The Last of Us, how they were living in that world, especially in The Last of Us 1, where they had like a lot of like main humanity in these like sectioned off zones. And so of course, people are freaking out and stuff, and we'll go back to Koizumi, as basically she ends up starting to piece together what's going on with the guys and stuff, and her friend ends up getting a visit from somebody that's spreading the virus via fish. Like he's going door to door giving them this fish, but the fish is actually contaminated with the freaking virus. So Yoshizune them end up coming through and saving Koizumi them. And so basically then they decided like, hey, in order for us to find out what's going on, we need to go back into the friend world, into the virtual reality world of their childhood. And so, while they're doing that, there's, plans for various memorial services going on. And of course, Manjum, he is just so distraught. And so I'm not gonna go through all this, but basically they end up Khan of them end up sneaking back into Friendland and going back into the virtual world of 1970 of their childhood. So it was interesting, for Yoshizune to, go back to this time period and stuff. And so, one thing, he is trying to figure out is, basically what was he doing during this summer? Cause you start to see like, okay, Kenji was big into his music, Morrow and somebody else had to help out their family with, family work, whatever, around the house and their businesses and stuff, whatever. And so basically time is passing on. Everybody's getting older. Everybody's kind of growing apart, doing their own thing. So, anywho, we freaking meet Kami-sama. So we learn that the reason why Kenji them's little secret hideout got destroyed was because Kami-sama bought the land and built a bowling alley on it, which loops back to freaking like volume 1 or 2. Volume 1, I'm pretty sure, where, I vividly remember there's that one panel of Kami-sama kind of like doing like a bowling motion. And it was weird at the time, but now it's like, yo, he was really big into bowling, so much so that he freaking destroyed Kenji them's hideout back in the day. And so just starting to see like that connection there, that that they met him that far back. And so basically everything starts to converge onto the school that one night. But also while that's going on, people around in the real world, basically they're seeing basically the friend walking around, and people are like, yo, like, what is going on? How is he alive? Type of stuff. So let me see. I'm just kind of skimming through some of this, but yeah. So this was all just like so surreal that, like I said, like they're going through, and basically they learned that what happened in the science lab. Oh, there was a part that was so sweet and wholesome. Kana, because things were starting to go kind of crazy, Kana actually gets sent into the game, and she ends up getting teleported right next to Kenji when he was asleep one night. And so it was just kind of very sweet and wholesome that she got to meet and see her uncle Kenji again, but see him as a kid. So that moment was just very sweet and very wholesome. But anywho, so we learned that the thing that Donkey saw as a kid in the science lab, he saw basically the friend who more or less hung himself but came back to life. And so they the friend, Yamain, and I can't remember the other guy that had the other mask or whatever. Basically the friend told them to reject Donkey, so that's why he freaked out. He jumped out of the window on the second floor of the school. But yeah, so things starting to kind of come together, and basically Mahjong entered the game, and he saw that moment, but then he also meets the friend, comes into the game, wakes him up, and then pulls him out of the game. So yeah, so basically that's kind of where Volume 7 more or less ends. Yoshizune, he ends up finding his childhood self back in that time period, and basically see that he remembers that his younger self was trying to build a new base for them. So that was just so sweet, so wholesome, and just like him getting to see and reconnect with his younger self. And then the last thing was Kana basically kind of following Donkey around and kind of getting clarification on what exactly Donkey saw, what he experienced, and stuff. So, and it was so sweet, like Kana getting to say some encouraging words to Donkey as his younger self. But yeah, so Volume 8. We start off in Rome. Rome 2015. We meet some priest guys or whatever, and see, they're kind of getting ready to doing some planning and stuff for the expo. So this one guy, his one of the head priests, basically his mentor, had passed away, so they kind of wanted him to come back to the chapel or whatever to take over his study, to kind of help organize and go through his notes and stuff. Well, this guy ends up finding basically a version of the book of prophecy, because he finds this kind of like unmarked book, and he takes it to, basically he tracks down the guy that wrote it. And so we kind of get some more backstory of this priest guy. Basically, when the head priest guy found him years ago, he was like a thug, had the tattoos on his arm, all that stuff, whatever. And so there was just like just very neat, just kind of getting to see, just like continue to see like the bigger scale of how what the friends are doing and how far spread their influence is. Because there's one priest, basically he tracks down like what's going on, who wrote the book or whatever, and he starts to piece things together. And as he goes back to the church and tries to tell the head guy now, like, hey, the thing I found in the father's study and yada yada yada, it's connected to this, and it's talking about the world not ending this year or maybe ending 2015, yada yada yada. And basically the head guy, priest guy, ends up being like, no, hey, I'm shutting this down. Matter of fact, you're not ready to work in his study or whatever. And the next time the guy gets back in his room, the guy's room has been cleaned out. All his notes, research, everything's been cleaned out. So basically, this priest guy ends up more or less going on the run because he starts to notice, or he realizes basically like last minute that, that the head guy is in on what's going on, because he remembers that the priest guy that saved him, he enjoyed drinking wine, but he can only drink white wine because he had like an allergy or something to red wine. Well, so the head guy told him that the last thing the priest guy said was that he can't wait to drink some red wine with him. Or am I getting that mixed up with something? But anywho, that was kind of like a tipping point of like, nah, he can only drink white wine. So anywho, the guy ditches his priest outfit and kind of makes his way to Japan, where we get reconnected with Chono from back in like volume 3, I believe, 3, 4, whatever. And so we kind of get, they start talking and connecting or whatever, but it's a language barrier. But they end up getting over that language barrier and basically end up realizing like, oh, hey, the plan to assassinate the Pope is still on. So the priest guy and Chono work together and meet with the priest guy there in Japan that Chono was dealing with back in like volume 3 or 4. And so it was just kind of neat just seeing all this stuff kind of like starting to tie together as, like I said, all these people are forces coming together to basically prepare for the potential of the Pope getting assassinated. And so I really like this panel because Octo them talk about how it was no doubt that they saw the friend in the rain. I really like this panel. Just looks so sinister and menacing. But yeah, chapter 4, Writhing Truth. But yeah, so all the forces basically start to come together. And so this whole series of events was so wild because they basically infiltrate, or so basically, long story short, the Pope ends up coming to the church or whatever. He ends up reconnecting with his friend, which we find out that the head priest there in Japan, he met the guy that's now the Pope back when he was just a regular priest, kind of traveling around, and he kind of came into a bar one day being like, hey, I need somebody to help me. I got a truck full of vaccine, but I can't drive the truck. Can somebody help out or whatever? And basically the priest guy, he was just trying to escape, because he was kind of in some trouble, whatever. He was trying to escape. And he basically, long story short, him and the Pope, or the guy that ends up becoming the Pope, end up becoming friends and bonding. So, everybody's kind of like on pins and needles as the Pope is getting ready to make his way to the church, because that's where supposedly he's going to get assassinated. Well, that did not happen. So the Pope ends up going through, meeting everybody. They become friends and stuff. or they kind of like get to reconnect and stuff. And the Pope leaves and nothing happens. And so while all this is going on, we see this crazy fool, number 13, coming back to the picture because, of course, he'll be the one that's seemingly tasked with assassinating the Pope, which we later find out that is not the case. But anywho, so like I said, the Pope ends up going and visiting the church. Nothing happens, and so everybody's like, "Hey, job well done. Pope is safe. You know, we can relax now." Of course, Ocho and them were kind of like, something just doesn't feel right. And so things are so crazy to where even Manjom isn't fully in on the loop because his assistant guys kind of like give him the itinerary or whatever, being like, yeah, and so the Pope is gonna be here and do this and that and da 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 da. And then Manjom is like, wait, what? Wait, who gave you this plan? And the guy's like, wait, you didn't? And so that's where the intrigue starts, and you start to hear about let me see. Yeah, so Chono basically gives Akcho them some key information saying that, they're planning on having the Pope address the friend's body at the opening ceremony of the expo. And so that's where Akcho them, like, the wheels start to turn of like, okay, all right, they're planning something big. And even Manjom is just like dumbfounded as far as like, this is going to be the greatest show of all time. And the stuff that they pull off, because I'm just going to skip ahead, I don't need to go through every little thing. But basically, and also in the background while all this is going on, there's also been reports of a guy traveling around, some guy in a suit, traveling around from town to town through America, placing suitcases on the ground and leaving. And then not long after, people are getting sick and stuff. So that's playing and coming into play while all this stuff is going on in Japan at the expo. So I also really appreciate how these freaking biker gang pulled up on the frog guy or whatever, and they're finding out that Kiriko also gave them some vaccine, and that's why they're healthy. And so they team up with the frog man, and they basically are going to try to help. So anywho, long story short, the Pope is addressing supposedly the friend's dead body at the opening of the expo. And so we see number 13 is up on top of this like thing across from the Pope. And basically, when 13 goes to take the shot, it really isn't to try to kill the Pope. It is to kill the friend because right before the shot is taken, the friend comes back to life in front of everybody. So, of course, everybody's like, oh my God, the friend's alive. He's back alive. And so everybody is distracted because, of course, Kana and Aksho, they're trying to figure out, okay, where's 13? Where's 13? Where's he at? Where's he going to snipe from? Well, the friend comes back alive. So that gets their attention. And then everybody's scrambling, freaking out or whatever. And then 13 takes the shot, and the friend seemingly jumps in front of the bullet to protect the Pope. And pretty much they realize that all of us there were watching the man who saved the Pope's life by taking a bullet. I'll never forget what Uncle Aksho whispered just then. He's gone way beyond sainthood. The bastard's going to become a god. And so that's basically what happened. Because, and this was like one of the greatest schemes in history. Because the friend is supposedly dead, and then you come back to life. Not only did you come back to life, but you came back to life to save the Pope's life in front of the world. And so, in this moment, the friend pretty much ascends to, like they say, godhood. And yeah. So, pretty much, things going to affect And yeah, things go into effect from there. And then afterwards, after the friend recovers and yada yada yada, and the world sees he's back alive, he has a meeting with this little group and basically says that pretty much everything's in order. We're just waiting for a phone call. And the phone rang, and he picks it up and he says, "There it is." Uh, and then he said, right then, all around the world, there were sightings of salesmen dressed in suits with gas masks on their faces. And we see the suitcase being set on the ground, it opening up, a mist spraying, creating a rainbow. And then we just get like a dark page saying, and then the world as we knew it ended. Wow. And that was only halfway through volume 8. Because then we get a 3-year time jump to year 3 of the friendship era. And so, once again, we are wondering what is going on, where is everybody? Because, of course, another 3 years have passed, so everybody's getting older and stuff, whatever. Everybody's been dispersed doing their thing, whatever. And so, basically, the back half of this volume, we kind of get more insight into Fukabe, aka the friend, and his childhood and growing up, whatever, to where, basically, he kept longing to be a part of Kenji them's group. So much so to where he was like, hey, you guys want to come over to my house? I'll have all this manga, yada, yada, yada. And so basically, these several chapters, I'm not going to go through all of it. Basically, it is just him basically like trying to be cool and impress Kenji them, and basically nobody is paying attention. And we also learn that he is the one that, that pulled the whole stunt at the house on Haunting Hill. That whole incident was him and him and Sadakio. So basically, like I said, just like background to like when him and Sadakio first met, how they learned about the Book of Prophecy, and then how they kind of schemed to come up with their own thing. And so while that's going on, or, like I said, we get all that flashback or whatever of him trying to figure out who he is, what he wants to be and stuff. And like I said, eventually he ends up meeting Manjom and kind of starting the beginning of that relationship. And yeah, so then we kind of see this freaking crazy ominous tower that they done built for the friend. And it is just so freaking wild as we see like all these various like kind of like quarantine zones and stuff, as we follow this little boy and this little girl who basically they end up connecting with Akcho, because the little boy ended up finding Akcho and when he was in trouble, and basically he's been hiding out in their shed and the little boy's been feeding him. And then the sister ends up finding out eventually, and then they end up working together to both try to heal Akcho and then try to help him figure out what's going on, because the girl, it's hard to tell how old she is because she looks like a small child, but she has a job. So because the mom is like, hey, because the little brother going to school, she's going to work, so it's like, how old are you? So maybe next volume they'll tell us how old she is. But anywho, they end up in a situation to where they they're working together, they're piecing together stuff. Aksho is kind of like filling them in and like, okay, what's going on and stuff, and they're filling him in on the stuff that they've known. And so basically the kids, they have a TV in their house, and so they snuck Aksho in the house one night or whatever. And basically it was late at night, and then they were like, hey, it's getting late. At this time of night, we're supposed to turn the TVs off, whatever. So basically, they decided to leave the TV on or whatever, and there's like a cryptic message, basically like a revolution happening or whatever. And so they end up hearing that. Then the TV breaks the next day, and so they use that as a reason to try to get Akcho out of their house, or away secretly, whatever. So their mom agrees to let them take the TV to a repair shop, freaking 2 hour walk away, which is wild. But anywho, through all of this, we learn that the TV thing, there's some type of like resistance message going on, but they use that as a way to trap people, because anytime a TV is broken, they have to bring it to this one district of town to get fixed, and then that's where the friends them catch people, because you come to, oh, why your TV broken? Oh, did you hear anything weird on the TV last night? Did you have it on after hours? All that type of stuff. And so, yeah, so they kind of like start to discover all that stuff. And so, they're kind of getting more stuff pieced together. Octo learns about some global defense force ray gun thing they're trying to build. Once again, stuff from the Book of Prophecy from when they were kids. And so, yeah, so right now, Octo and the kids are on the run, and they end up at a bowling alley where, who do they meet? Kami-sama. Now, Kami-sama tells Octo that he had a dream that they will meet each other again. But the thing about his dreams is that he never knows like concrete information all the time, whatever. So he never knew when they were going to show up. He just knew that Octo was going to show up at that bowling alley someday, and so he's just been there waiting every day. And yeah, and so basically, like I said, we kind of started to piece things together, and so Kami-sama basically tells Octo like, hey, for the first time ever, I'm not having dreams of the future anymore. And he's saying that basically, could that just be because, the world's about to end, like there is no future to dream of type of thing. So, yeah, and that's kind of where Volume 8 kind of leaves us. Now, one other cool thing we also saw, because we also heard rumblings, because when Octo was talking to the little girl about like what's going on in the world, she was telling him that like there's talks of like a resistance building up by a young lady who supposedly has psychic powers. She is cold-hearted, ruthless, all this stuff, whatever. And so seemingly that's probably Kana. And so I can't wait till we see Kana again, because like I said, it's been 3 more years, so she's older and stuff, whatever. But it is just like the wheels are turning. Things are kind of spiraling out of control, because once again, they kind of failed to prevent another disaster. And so now here we are with basically the world has ended again, because they couldn't stop the thing in the year 2000, and they had to disperse and regroup over the years. They kind of came back together, and once again they failed to foresee everything, and now the friend just ascended to a whole nother level of power. So yeah, so I'm very excited to see what Kana is up to, find out more about the friend and his revival and stuff. And it's going to be crazy. We got freaking Manjom on the cover of Volume 9. So with that, it is always a wild ride with these volumes, like I said, especially with both of them. But I hope that y'all are enjoying going on this journey with me as much as I am, and yeah, so I'm ready to continue on to see what Manjom has in store for us. And let me just take a little. Oh yeah. Yep. So shenanigans are afoot on the first page. So yeah. So with that, like I said, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for going on this 20th Century Boys journey with me. And I'll catch y'all again with the next one. Yeah. So just a little tidbit, feels weird me saying this, but I have started a Patreon for the podcast. So it's just kind of a way for if you like what I do and you want to support, I don't have like no crazy tiers or whatever. It's just kind of pick what you will, and donate what you will, and yeah. So go check it out. Like I said, nothing too crazy, or whatever. But I wanted to kind of just to create something because it's something that's been on my mind for a while, and so figured it'd be kind of a way for me to kind of continue, a way to kind of like get help to continue to build and grow this platform and what I do. But like I said, go check that out. Patreon.com/Dad Needs to Talk. Feels very weird saying that. but yeah, go show your boy some love. Follow me on all platforms. Make sure you're subscribed to both the YouTube channel as well as the podcast feed. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.